Folks, I show 7 p.m. We'll rise and we'll pledge the flag. Let me get on my remote machine here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, good evening. Nice July 10, 2017 meeting here. I sound kind of loud, but welcome everybody. And thought what we do is we'll approve some minutes and we'll rearrange business to move the engineer in and out before we get into regular stuff. You will note if you're in the audience or watching in TV land, Jennifer Norris is not here, nor is Trustee Trapp. They're traveling and some summer plans, but we do have three of us so we can conduct business and move ahead. With that being said, minute approval, we had a June 12th regular monthly meeting and a June 15th workshop. We did circulate the minutes digitally. I reviewed them, and so do you have. We did have a request. One trustee would still like a paper version or unofficial archivist.
Which one?
Or unofficial archivist, Mr. Kowalczyk. Anybody else could have them too, but just so you know, the clerks keep paper copies and files, but Brent's avocation with us is paper. So it's
Paper.
We'll honor his wish, and if you could get him. But we have read them, and I would ask, did anybody have any additions, alterations, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 12 and June 15?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Okay, why don't we talk about money for a moment, since a lot of what we do requires money. So Cindy has her treasurer's report dated today, 10 July 2017. Are you ready to go through that, sir?
Yes, general fund as of July 10th. Account balances, general fund, $1,147,727.82. That's a nice figure. Water fund, $83,345.31. Trust and agency, $33,204.34. Materials management, $7,751.97. Petty cash, $32.20. Village green, $4,136.88. Hardscrabble fund, $10,459.34. Health insurance, $4,914.52. And capital project, $0. Monthly expenses, general fund, $75,054.37. Water fund, $18,611.42. Trust and agency, $33,204.34. And materials management, $1,962.73.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, what I thought we could do, let's see, since Robert Flores is out there, do you want to help us on the second item for regular business there on the board sheets and the agenda sheets? We have a water phase 2 closeout resolution. What this is, it's a step we have to take with Jerson, the GC, on the main job, and then Gross Electric, who did work over at the well fields on the electrical side of our system. So, Robert, you want to fill us in a little bit, and we'll do what we have to do?
So, as I was saying, this was
Oh.
There we go. That's better. All right, as Ed was saying, that one of the steps here for closing out our water project, what we call our Phase 2 water project, which was we had budgeted $3.8 million. We have to pass a resolution accepting the prime contracts, which is Jerson and Gross Electric, as complete. So each contract comes with a 1-year warranty, and we have retainage and those kind of things. But this is a significant step in closing out the project. Allows a lot of other things to move forward in terms of release of liens and that kind of thing, bonds that the contractors are holding and insurance that the contractors are holding. So it's significant. One of the things we want to mention as we stand right now with the larger contracts closing out, we're a little over 70,000 under budget for the project. And the only thing left, we have some administrative costs that'll be used to closing out when we do the final, some legal stuff, accounting type things. But we completed the capital component of the project, pretty significantly under budget. So that's all good, all to the good.
Yeah, very good, actually. Just to flesh it out a little bit, what it means is we've had several sit-down meetings with the Prime General and then the Prime Electrical. And what you're saying is any issues, any doubts, anything, we're okay now. We've had them come back once or twice to do some lawn reseeding, and we think we've got them to the point that it's the best we're going to get from that world. And let's see, the electrician, he's totally done.
So the actual work they did is done for several months and it's been working. Any glitches that showed up, we were able to address. And now it's been working, trouble-free for several, for a while. So that's why we're, feel comfortable making the motion to close them out.
And if there's anything happens in the next year, that will be covered by the warranty that will require them to come back and fix it.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, does the warranty take effect from the date of substantial completion or from the date of final completion?
Substantial completion.
So we've already approved substantial completion by the Prime General,
Right.
but not the Prime Electric.
Right.
Right. So this will serve as both, for the electric, for both substantial and final. Or just
Right.
final, right? I guess we don't need substantial, but.
Yeah, the dates for the electric will be, today makes it kind of nice. It's same date, so.
So this is for the Prime General, we passed that back in what, March, April?
The substantial completion was when they were done with the paving of the roads. So that was in the fall,
September.
late September, yeah.
So we got a couple months left on that, and then the warranties start on the electric as soon as we pass this resolution tonight. All right.
Yeah.
And like Robert said too, we've been working off the short-term funding through EFC. This will start to set the stage for closing on the long-term funding.
Right, the short term meaning 3 years. So our 3 years are up in January.
Right. So, and do you want to talk about the Form Es you have there in that stack? The Form E is a USDA form where we transact payments through the course. What's this form, 13 is it, or what?
Number 10.
10?
Yep.
Okay. So that through the course of the project, there was 9 previous requests for payment and so forth. But-
Right, so what this keeps track of is every contract that's being paid out of the project, and the contract amount paid to date, amount being requested this pay period. So this shows like, for example, CT Mail being closed out, Jerson being closed out, and gross being paid. So,
Could you just explain for me, there's a $10,000 retainage still with Jerson, which we're asking to be paid to us, but we want to just touch base once or twice before we actually release that to them? Is that
right, there's no bigger leverage than cash, right? So when we have a couple issues with driveways and that kind of thing, you'll have that cash in your pocket because you've processed the Form E, but then when you're ready, you can write the check.
So there's still retainage after we closed out the contract?
So this will close out the contract when you make this resolution. Then you're also, as part of the Form E, you're processing the final payment, which has the 10,000.
Which releases the retainage?
Releases it to your pocket, right? And then what we've been discussing is before you mail that check, you want a few things either done or agreed upon, just to make sure.
Yeah, but to be upfront, there's really no major issue hanging out there. There's one or
Right.
two long complaints, but they're minuscule, and
Right, there's nothing in the scale of $10,000.
we've pushed the contractor, and they've been very responsive and good to work with.
Sounds like it.
But anyway, that being said, we did have a resolution. We did this with phase one of the water, so essentially we're following a similar process. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but what we're stating is whereas final construction work of USDARD Phase 2 is physically complete, whereas 2 contractors operated under separate contracts, and we name them here, Contract 4G for the general prime contractor, parentheses, Gerson Construction, and 4E was the prime electrical contractor, Gross Electric, Inc., whereas the work has been performed in accord with the contracts and no disputes in the past or pending. I guess no disputes exist. We need a verb there, I think. Whereas the construction work is complete and ready for final payment, be it resolved that the village board of the Village of Red Hook hereby accepts the work of Phase 2 water improvement as complete and therefore authorizes its mayor, engineers, and financial staff to complete the appropriate forms and paperwork to move toward a closing with USDA, RD, and EFC, dated today. Let's just look at that one paragraph, where the work has been performed in accord with the contracts and no disputes exist, past or pending. No disputes exist. I think we need the word exist there somewhere. What verb are you thinking?
Well, how about, whereas the work has been performed in accordance with the contracts and there are no current or pending disputes? Just a thought.
Yeah. So say, whereas, that one paragraph, whereas the work has been performed in accord with the contracts and there are no current or pending contract disputes. Does that work for you guys? So I can make that edit on paper and we can make a better paper version, but makes sense? So I would offer that as a motion. Cindy, we have to give us 19. So,
Second.
all right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. While we have you up there, Robert, what else are we working on? Wanted to talk about the sewer use law. I think we circulated that to the board. It's a 61-page document with a lot of technical and...
A lot of light reading in there, right?
Yeah, right. So I don't think everybody's had a chance to get through it, but the steps we would look forward to doing, we had it crafted and drafted with the help of a specialty engineering subcontractor who also worked on some similar projects with a similar disposal system that we're using. So we did then forward this to our attorneys, McCabe and Mack, and within the project funding for the sewer project, there is a line for legal contractual type work. So they'll be looking at it under that line of the project. I haven't heard back from him. The reason I wanted to bring it up is we will need to do a public hearing on the sewer use law. We'll be incorporating a new bunch of text into our existing code, which requires a public hearing. And I'm inclined, folks, to put it to September, only because August is a month away. We haven't heard back from council. It's pretty heavy reading for all of us. And then I will be traveling myself 2 weeks just before the August meeting, so I won't really be in the loop.
I won't be here.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we could pick the September meeting.
Sounds
For that reason.
sensible.
I don't have the date for 11th, so usually we set them for 7 PM on the night of our regular meeting. And what we would do is, our obligation is to get the final version to your desks in a certain time frame before the meeting, so you can have like the final version. So we would comply. So September gives us a better shot at that. So I would entertain a motion that we set the sewer use law incorporation work for a public hearing at 7 PM on September 11th.
Second.
Did I hear a second? Charlie, you okay with that?
Yes,
any other
aye.
discussion? I didn't vote, we didn't call, but any other thoughts, discussion? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. All right. While we have you there, Robert, anything else? We did meet with Dutchess County Department of Health folks on Friday. We've got the map plan report ratified here at our end, and that's being circulated to the agencies right now. And all things are moving ahead well.
Maybe, well, one other heads up for your information. Our sub-consultant, Brian Biggs Clark, their surveying crew has been around town. Everybody's noticed them. But they're working with us also, setting up the easements. So, you know, the typical thing that you do the deed research, and then you come back and fill in the gaps. So that's, you know, it's kind of a busy time of the year. You see a lot of people up on the road, but that particular crew, that's what they're up to. So
That's good to know, because I was on a bicycle mission the past day or two. Somebody saw some new appearing flag in their land, and it was like a little too recent to be from Phase 2 water. And I think what it is, they're not in the district, but they probably border a point that's being used to be used in the measurement of the district or something, so.
okay.
Probably answers that question, right? So, but, all right. I think we're good.
Okay.
So, thank you. Moving back to regular department and committee reports. I'm next on the list there with a police report. And I was doing a little work. Let me just find my note sheet as well. For the month of June, total incidents were 308. It breaks out 238 in the village, 70 in the town, and 4 in the village of Tivoli. As far as traffic tickets written, it's a total of 132. 82 of those were in the village, includes 4 parking tickets, and 50 were in the town of Red Hook. Arrests were 10, 4 were in the village, and 6 were in the town. What I was doing, I was just looking at, as you might recall, the town gave a little more financial assistance to some more town patrols, and I was just looking at comparing the ticket trending and the incident trending, village to town and so forth. But right now it looks like as far as tickets in the village, we're trending at an average of 74 a month. And this particular month we're looking at was 82. The town tickets are 43. And this month, let's see, tickets were 50, so it's a little heavier this month. And then incidents, the town averages 70 incidents, and the village 272. So I thought it might be interesting to do a spreadsheet on that, just to watch trends and so forth. But that would be that report. Let's see. Charlie, you ready to read water there? And I can dig up a few more things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, June 2017, during the month of June, the water treatment plant treated 6,288,000 gallons of water at an average rate of 209,000 gallons per day. And the plant used 50 gallons of liquid hypochlorite to disinfect the supply of public water at an average rate of 1.66 gallons per day. So looking back to last year, June of 2016, the plant treated 6,737,000 gallons of water over 26 days as metering data was lost for a span of 4 days. During these 26 days, the plant treated an average of 259,000 gallons per day. So that was a savings of approximately 50,000 gallons per day during the month of June, which still seems very impressive and in keeping with our general trending of much more efficient and less waste in the water supply system. Three water samples were sent to the lab for bacteriological testing, and all three returned a negative result, which is always good. And we're back to our conservation tips, so I'll just put this out there. Consider installing a timer on any outdoor hose bib used for watering. One of the largest causes of high summer water bills is a forgotten watering hose. In just one day, a hose flowing at 5 gallons per minute wastes 7,200 gallons of water. So, there you go.
Thank you. Yeah, like Charlie said, I think last month we were saving about 40,000 gallons per day in the numbers last month. So
About
this
50, yeah.
50, yeah. I mean, the prior, when you read the report a month ago.
Oh, right.
So the trend is holding, which is good.
Yeah.
With gardens and things, June's probably a little more outside water usage, hence the tip. We don't have a trustee trap. Do you want to segue into planning and zoning? Do you have that in front of you at all?
Planning and zoning, I think I do.
See, Mazeland. Some people live on Mazeland. We're active in building permits there. Mazeland is our newest area of being built in the village. If I can go, I guess. As far as building permits issued, we have 15, which is a fair amount. Certificates of occupancy issued 1. Certificate of compliance, none. Municipal searches, 16 Smith, and I won't give the addresses, but there were 2 of them. Orders to remedy, none. Stop work orders, 0. Court appearances, 0. Fire inspections, says see attached report. We'll have to flip to that. Inspections, see attached report. Planning board actions, a negative deck was declared for Red Hook Commons site plan subdivision, and it's tabled to the meeting, which will be in 2 or 3 days at the July 13th planning board meeting. Site plan for Elizabeth Street classified as a type 2 action and tabled to the July 13th planning board meeting. And there was a signage approval on a West Market Street property. A couple more signs approved, and a site plan application on St. John Street, South Broadway, and a subdivision application for Baxter Road tabled to July 13th. Looks like they're going to be pretty busy in a couple days here. ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, no June meetings due to no need, no agenda items were required. Fire inspection sheet, I kind of wish they had totaled it here, but let's see if I can do it quickly. Looks like I see 6 fire inspections and then a regular building inspections. Look like footing, foundation, framing, 3 of those. And then as far as the net revenue in that department, it looks like total of $2,497 in various permits and fees was generated. So it's a pretty busy month for that group. Let's see, while I'm filling in, maybe I'll do Jen's materials management and events. Which do you want to hear first? Let's do the garbage. I was looking at her report. If you look at the prior year, the fiscal year that just ended, May 31, she gives, looks like the average of tag sales per month was $3,810. When you do that math times 12, I think it's like $45,700 or something, and we budgeted $45,000 last year, so pretty good. And if you look at the cost, like we've been talking about at our meetings, as of January this year, you start to see in a spreadsheet where the charge for single stream, the recyclables, is starting to be incurred, and hence that drove our July 1 increase in garbage tag rates. We took them up essentially 10%. The $2.50 tag is now $2.75, and the $5 tag is now $5.50. And again, that seems consistent with when we project our new costs to be. But anyway, for the current month, let's see, we sold $3,450 in tags, and what she labels as costs are really just the tipping fees and some fuel surcharge was $1,263. But like we all know, we also pay the salary of the highway folks that work that day out of that fund, so, but that's not recorded in this sheet. On the back of her report, since she's interested in saving paper, we're announcing that something we do every summer. It's the community concert and potluck in the park. It's Abrams Park. It'll be August 12th at 5 p.m. And it's the bluegrass band Grass Fed. It's Dan Budd's band here from Red Hook. I think unfortunately this year Dan himself will not be playing. He's off on a trip to the West with a Boy Scout troop he oversees. But it's a real fun event. Bring a chair and a dish to share. We set up tables and the stage, and it's usually good weather. And we usually, if you're a village resident, I'd ask you walk over or park at the high school or the middle school rather. It's a little bit tight parking on Park Avenue, and so if you could walk and get yourself there somehow else, it'd be better. But a chair and a dish, and it's free, and it's a fun time. They do great music, and it's a good time. Kids can come. They can run around and have fun in the park too. The big day, Hardscrabble Day, September 16th. Jen reminds anybody that wants to do vendor applications, go to hardscrabbleday.org, and if you're a vendor, get yourself in, get reserved. We're getting a lot of reservations already on that, and we're out fundraising for it. We did announce it's going to be Art Neville and the Funky Meters, so Red Hook's going to have a New Orleans flair that weekend, and we're going to circulate a letter to the street merchants just to get them in the mood and understand what the music will be about and see if they can come up with their own creative ideas to join in the fun, whether it be menu changes or things they're going to sell off on the sidewalk themselves. And I know maybe Brent could chime in on this one. The local merchants group have been promoting and working on that first Friday. Last one was kind of funny. They had a fry food truck, F-R-Y.
Friday.
Playing on words. That they had it parked over by the skateboarders. So I think the teenage kids were probably loading up on French fries or
It was
something.
actually pretty good.
Yeah. I saw Brent walking around. Would you have a greasy bag of something? I don't know.
Sepplies.
Yeah, but
Joey over in Enchanted Cafe had fried Sepplies, so.
and, it was kind of funny. So first Friday would be one in August. How long are they going to go till it stays? They go through the winter, or
Don't know.
I've been impressed in that they're also working on keeping their lights lit in the stores later. It makes it a little more interesting for people driving through and walking through. Jen has something here. Let's see. The library, Red Hook Library, has music on their porch this coming Friday night. So she must mean, since this is Monday the 10th, it must mean this coming Friday, which would be 4 or 5 days from today. Library has many free camps during the summer, including animation, improv, science, and art camp. Sign up is at the library. So kids being out of school, it's a good thing where they can go and learn something and have fun. And I already did the materials management report. That'll be that. It looks like now we're ready for Mr. Deputy Mayor Kowalczyk. You ready?
Yes, sir, I am. Start with the Village Green Monthly Report. Current balances of the Village Green Committee's related budget accounts as of June 30th are as follows. Community beautification, we have $4,000. Shade tree contractual, $10,500. The Village Green checking account balance is $4,136.88. There were no Village Green Committee meetings held during the month of June. And Dave's Tree Service has been contracted to prune and/or remove trees on or near village street right-of-ways. Property owners with properties adjoining right-of-ways where trees will be removed have been notified. There have been no appeals to reconsider these actions. 19 trees on 13 properties will be pruned and/or removed. Upon notification and approval of property owners, the Village Green Committee will plant new trees on these sites during upcoming tree planting days. And the Village of Red Hook Highway Department monthly report. The Highway Department is currently picking up lawn debris as their schedule permits every first and third Monday of the month. Residents are reminded to place your lawn debris curbside and to separate brush, lawn debris, and grass clippings into separate piles. And if you can, please store out of sight until the scheduled pickup dates to prevent conflicts with other village services and to keep streets clean and free of debris. And the size of the pile should be no larger than 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet, with tree limbs and branches no larger than 8 inches in diameter. I mentioned Dave's Tree Service, and those costs will be deducted from our shade tree contractual expense budget line. The village did receive the Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Apportionment Balance from the New York State DOT on April 21st, and this is primarily for the board, just to verify what we have been allotted from the state and what we have shown in our current budget. And I know there were some bills that were sent out during the last fiscal year that perhaps it weren't reimbursed at this point, but the state has us at $88,348.75, and we had allotted in our village budget $52,800. So it's quite a substantial amount of difference there that I would like to see just us look at a little bit closely to see that those two numbers are in line. 70 stop bars, 8 crosswalks, and 3 handicap parking symbols, and 6 bike vehicle sharrows, primarily for the Village to Village Trail, have been painted on village streets by Izzy Street Cleaning Incorporated. The total project cost of $4,150 will be deducted from budget line 5110.42, which is the maintenance of streets, street maintenance budget line. New catch basins and dry wells will be installed at the corner of Cambridge Drive, on the corner of Amherst Drive, Benner Road near the Catholic Church, Benner Road between the school and the ball field, and the corner of Smith and Zipser Street, which has already been installed, and Fraley Street. An estimate of $15,000 for labor from Frank Bosberg and Sons has been approved by the village. The village will provide all materials and assist with installation and repairs, and the funding for these actions will be deducted from the CHIPS budget line, which we had just discussed. Scrap metal was sold on June 6th. Payments of $255.60 and $342 were received by the village on June 14th. Total revenue generated for this fiscal year is $597.60, which is pretty good for 1 month into the fiscal year. We anticipated $2,000 revenue for this year. Since inception of the scrap metal recycling program in September of 2007, $22,809.17 has been generated. Proceeds from this program go toward the purchase of tools and equipment for the village highway, water, and material management department. Anyone interested, residents, businesses, in donating scrap metal can contact the highway department at 758-8600 or the village clerk's office, and the highway department personnel will assist property owners by picking up scrap metal upon request. The Red Hook Infrastructure and Intermunicipal Task Force monthly report, the sewer project. Meetings were held on June 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th in the Red Hook Village building. And we discussed additional funding which may be available through Dutchess County, an additional scope of work and costs separate and distinct from sewer project phase 1 were discussed. The map planner report review as required by Article 14, Section 1400 of the New York State Village Law continues. Correspondences from the New York State Department of Health, Environmental Facilities Corporation, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation have indicated that their approval is not required, nor is it under their authority to review the map planner report. Dutchess County Department of Health has offered to review the document. We had a meeting last Friday, July 7th, where we discussed them reviewing the map planner report, and we also toured the existing treatment plant. A New York State EFC update grant application for the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act for clean water with a letter of support from New York State Senator Sue Serino was sent to New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation on June 16th, and with additional material sent on June 23rd. The sewer project is eligible to recover up to 25% of the project cost through this grant. Confirmation by EFC of successful application submission was received on June 16th and also on the 23rd. We reviewed the draft sewer use law as prepared by CT Mail's associate project engineers, Ryan Biggs, Clark Davis Engineering and Surveying, and draft copies have been sent to the Village Council, McCabe and Mack for legal review, as well as the Village Board, and we have already set the public hearing date in September. The legal review of the option and agreements with Red Hook Sewage Works Corporation for the conveyance of property in the existing treatment plant continues. And on June 9th, Robert Flores, Ed Blundell, and myself attended an informational event regarding the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act of 2017 and the Intermunicipal Water Infrastructure Grants Program at the offices of New York State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill. Sabrina Tai, the president and CEO of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, and her staff presented the grant programs and tried to gauge the interest of localities in attendance. On June 16th, Robert Flores and myself met with 2 village residents to review and discuss the sewer project. Moving on to the Red Hook Water Project, which is winding down, and I'm not going to go through all the numbers that I have, but meetings for the water were held on June 16th, 23rd, 28th, and 30th in the Red Hook Village Building, and we reviewed some closeout items from Jerson Construction and Gross Electric. And for the record, all the synopsis of the forms and payments have been included in the monthly report. Those interested can go online and look at those things. The 2015 Community Development Block Grant, this is for the new sidewalks at the firehouse and in front of Coburn's Laundry on South Broadway. Correspondence has continued between the Village of Red Hook and the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development to resolve the grant reimbursement. So hopefully we'll get that resolved sooner than later. The Dutchess County Innovation Grant, the Town of Red Hook, Villages of Red Hook, and Tivoli Shared Highway Services, assistance with the request for proposals to implement recommendations outlined in the Phase 1 of the Shared Highway Service proposal is being provided by Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. And the village is also considering to apply for a whole lot of grants, a Greenway grant to help us amend the village zoning law, consolidated funding application to go to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for Green Innovations Planning Grant for the municipal parking lot, a DEC estuary program, local stewardship planning grant for source water protection, and the New York State DEC water quality improvement program. So we're looking at those grants and see if we do qualify for that. The Intermunicipal Task Force, I'm a member of that. We meet every Friday. The task force met on June 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd in the Red Hook Town Hall. And we discussed Green Plan Inc. Current draft of the zoning regulations for solar photovoltaic systems in the town of Red Hook. We're looking at micro hydro zoning regulations, and they're being prepared with the assistance of Bard College. We're looking at the Hamlet Business District for the Upper Red Hook. That's being reviewed and amended for the Red Hook Town Board's consideration. The town board will also be looking at food truck zoning regulations, and we also discussed possible uses for properties currently unoccupied along South Broadway in the town's traditional neighborhood district business sub-district with current property owners of that area. And the last report, Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, I'm a member of that. There were no CPF Advisory Board meetings held during the month of June, and the current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of June 30th is $810,034.57. There were no Sawkill Watershed Community meetings held during the month of June. There was a Sawkill Watershed and Flood Mitigation Assessment. I'm a village stakeholder representative on that committee. A meeting was held On June 22nd, in the Red Hook Town Hall, discussions focused on areas and places within the Sawkill watershed that may be problem spots for flooding and that may warrant additional study, where infrastructure such as culverts and bridges may have changed since the last FEMA hydraulic study of 1983. On June 10th, Historic Red Hook held its annual House and Barn Preservation Expo. Experts from the field of historic preservation, architecture, trades, and urban planners assisted people who wanted to learn more about fixing their historic properties, historic development patterns of the area, and available funding for preservation projects. Red Hook Together, both Ed and I are representatives. Ed's been attending the meetings. I've been unavailable. There was a meeting held on June 8th at the Red Hook Public Library. Representatives from the Red Hook Public Library, Red Hook Community Center, Red Hook Central School Board, Ascensio Foundation, Bard College, the Red Hook PTSA, and the Village of Tivoli Public Library attended. The Red Hook Community Center received a $10,000 grant to enable more after-school programs. The community center is developing ride-sharing options to assist local seniors to access programs and events at the center. And Red Hook Village provided updates on a recent meeting with U.S. Congressman John Faso, the Red Hook Business Group's first Friday Night Lights, Hardscrabble Day, and current status of negotiations with Panda and the Red Hook Fire Company. The Sawkill Trail, which I think is on the agenda for the Winnicke Land Trust. Ed Blundell and myself met with Greg Swansea, who's the director of the Winnicke Land Conservancy. On June 23rd at the Red Hook Village Building, the proposed Sawkill Trail was discussed. The Sawkill Trail provides an off-road segment for travel between the areas around Bard College and the village of Red Hook. The presumed path is primarily through woods and wetlands and follows closely the path of the Sawkill and edges of agricultural fields, which are part of existing agricultural easements. The Sawkill Trail would link to the Village Trail and to the Red Hook Town Rec Parks. And the last one I have is the Red Hook Oral History Project. The Red Hook Oral History Project was created so that elder community members could share some of their lives with Red Hook High School students with the hope of creating an intergenerational connection that previously did not exist. 4 short films shot, edited, and presented by the high school students were presented to the public on June 16th at Olin Concert Hall of Bard College. The films presented featured self-told stories, life stories by 4 unique Red Hook residents, Tibby Close, Don Treble, Sue Crane, and Larry Thetford. It was pretty good, actually, very nice. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Brent. Sadly, that oral history, one of the participants, Tibby Close, she passed away, what, a year or so ago? Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they got her on film. And one of the intentions of that group is to record that, so it's good.
She was actually at the premiere of the films.
Oh, really?
I think
That's
it was
right.
her last outing, yeah.
Brent, maybe before you leave the stage, on your sheet that starts off intermissible ITF report, could we just explore a little bit when we were at that meeting over at Kevin Cahill's on the new WIA, W-I-I-A? That's the new, that's where the governor put, and the legislature agreed. I think they put, what, $2 billion over 5 years. It's
It's quite a bit of money, yeah.
so what we were doing is renewing some of our applications. And tonight we were talking about closing out Water Phase 2, but our timing and things, we are still processed and in a review stage with them to see if we can get some money retroactively to Phase 2 water.
And under that grant program, the Drinking Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, we are eligible for up to 60% of the project costs, which is about $2.1 million. So that
Yeah, so we were.
would be a handy hunk of change to have.
Yeah, worked out our timing before you heard us talking about substantial completion and then close out and different things. our timing seems to work, that we can keep ourselves in that running. We shook a lot of hands and lobbied, but we'll have to see what comes next. But that'd be awesome, because as you all know, we've been raising the water rates to pay the burden ourselves. But if we were to get that, we could redirect and do some more things, with either rate changes or more project.
Phase 3.
What, phase 3? It's not quite enough for phase 3, but it would get us to phase 2.5 or some version. And what else did I highlight here? Let's see. Your paragraph 5, considering applying for the following grants. Last month at our meeting, we talked about it. Greenway grant. We thought some composition of board members would start to explore that, but we would like to get some funding to help with the planner. I know you offered, but you're pretty tied up. I mean, actually filing the grant is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think we're actually looking at one of the grant writers to help us, assist us with that program. So if the grant comes forward, I think there's several board members that will be willing to jump in and lend their expertise to looking at some of the zoning amendments that we're proposing.
Okay, because sometimes we use our own inside
Yes.
people. So we do have a grant writer budget line. It's not a monster grant to apply for, as we understand it, so it shouldn't be too expensive.
These are relatively small grants too. And
I mean, I could babysit. Do you have somebody in mind you want to have fill out the paperwork, or not a
Yeah.
board member is what you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
Tim Thatcher would be,
I mean,
Tim Thatcher.
okay. All right, those are just two questions as you were going through. Thanks.
And that's been pursued already, so we're waiting for a response from him.
Let's see, what's most logical to head to next? Looks like we did sewer use law, we did water phase 2, so now we're in our regular business world. Winnicke Land Trust, Brent mentioned it in his reporting, and we did have that meeting with Greg Swansea from Winnicke. Let me just dig into my pile here. What we're inclined to do is, it's not a cost factor for the village. They're filing that term you hear us banty about, a CFA application, and what they wanted was support from municipalities. So in your packets, we have a municipal endorsement, and I think most of us on the board are familiar with what Winnicke is and what their mission is. Winnicke gave me a document confirming who Greg Swansea is. He's executive director of the Winnicke Land Trust. And he's, according to their secretary of their organization, he's authorized and directed by Winnicke to accept funds from New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation. And essentially what they're doing is they're setting up to get an application in. And like Brent mentioned, it's an off-road trail. It's not on any of our paved roads. And it's really in highly conceptual stage right now, as I see it. Would you concur in that?
Yeah.
It's like,
They have a draft trail route, but as far as accessing and getting permission from all the landowners, I think there's still a lot of work, and there's a couple bridges that they're proposing to do, and
essentially,
it's an ambitious plan.
and it'd be more of a rural country walk from the village of Red Hook back through toward Aspinwall Road in that way. In my opinion, it's worth supporting. It's not going to cost us any dollars ourselves. We would just be putting a letter, a resolution in their file as they send up their CFA, which I think would be good for us to do.
Right.
So
Brent, if they get funding from SHPO, would that be to acquire easements and property interests for the trail?
I believe, some of the recreational easements that they'll be looking at, going
Okay.
through. I mean, right now, it was pretty rough, and it's kind of a preliminary conceptual idea that they have to be developed a little bit further as far as the full scope and intention of the work. And he did submit a draft trail plan, but like I said, seems to be a lot of work involved, and this is the first step into realizing the completion of some or part of it.
Right. And why do they need us to approve a resolution to allow them to accept funds?
I think
Well,
it's
no.
just a letter of support.
Oh, I was just reading that Swansea, that what you're looking at, you have a copy of that you're
Yeah.
looking at too. It was just a testing from the land trust who Swansea is, and he's authorized by them. You know, they're just
Okay.
identifying him. What they want from us is
A letter of support.
no approvals. It's just, when we apply, we like to get letters of support for whatever project we're on. It's the same thing, but in this case, it's a municipal endorsement.
Okay.
So, I don't know, do you have it in front of you, Charlie? You want to read the whereas? And it's kind of a short one there. It's, I think they, instead of SHPO, they call it OPRHP.
OPRHP, yes.
I was going to say, we don't have it.
No, I don't have that.
None of us
You
do. No.
Well, that's not good.
I've got another resolution.
We have
but-
this.
Okay. I will read it then, and we can pass it around. Whereas the Winnicke Land Trust is applying to, we'll call it SHPO, for grants under the Environmental Protection Fund and Recreational Trails Program for a trails project to be located in the village of Red Hook, a site located within the territorial jurisdiction of this village board. And whereas a requirement under the rules of these programs, said not-for-profit corporation must obtain approval endorsement of the governing body of the municipality in which the project will be located. Now therefore it be resolved by this, and this is their wording, by this august body, that the village board of the village of Red Oak hereby does approve and endorse the application of Winnicke Land Trust for grants under the Environmental Protection Fund and Recreational Trails Program for a trails project known as the Sawkill Link Trail Project and located within this community. So, what do you have? You have the cover letter from Winnicke? And,
And it kind of does answer Charlie's question too. It said if appropriate, a conservation easement, preservation covenant to the deed of the assisted properties. That's what they're shooting for.
I have a sense that when I forwarded the document, it looks like only one page was printed for you guys. But, I mean, I think it was all one packet as an email with attachments, so I don't know what transpired. But the kicker is that within it, the trailer showing comes from the Sawkill into the village. One of their plans that I just handed down there, and Brent saw it, is they're posturing to go from the high school lands through the practice fields back to the Sawkill and then cross the Sawkill. We suggested that they just use the sidewalks of Linden Avenue to use that same access to get to the Sawkill. I think it would be better, but they're saying since some trail will be in the village, they'd like us to give a letter of support or municipal endorsement. I think it's fine. Like I keep saying, it's not going to cost us anything. We've asked this of others all the time to give us a letter of support. I think the bigger the packet and the more support they have. And we are in the business of trying to make linkages, pedestrian and bicycle, and this would fit into that. So I've read a resolution. Is there a number 20 for that then, Cindy? And we would call it -2017. I would offer it as a motion that we approve it and ask for a second. We can discuss it further.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's see. Red Hook Fire Department updates. Good news is, in line with a letter we sent to the fire company in June, we have resolved the funding discussion, and we've taken it a step further. We had a meeting Thursday night last week. As we know, we've been referencing certain articles of village law that make us more closely bound than has been in the past. So we are setting up to do incremental changes on that, and they had their lawyer there, and their board was there, and Trustee Trapp and myself were there with our lawyer. And I think everybody came to a better understanding of what I would consider what the relationship should be. And part of what they will do for us is, like we get a monthly police report, we'll be getting a monthly performance report from them. Our goal was to stay within a tax cap. We arranged and managed to do that. And we managed to assure them we want to work together, but we need to know that we're all on the same team. We can't be asked to pay incrementally higher than the town of Reddick was asked to pay this time around. And everybody has to keep in mind tax caps. So that came through pretty clearly. So we will be working in that fire council concept where they interact with us and talk. And I think the win-win of it will be that we'll get to know each other better and know each other's needs, and instead of having once every 2 years trying to come to an agreement and then disappearing from each other's view for 2 years. So overall, I'm hopeful. What is right now is our attorney is taking prior agreements and working up to an agreement. Part of it is we did agree to add, like we had in the past, certain barter arrangements. We'd given them the easement for the solar array. We'd give them additional land for a storage building they built at one point in time. This time around, we will do some snow plowing of their area. But what I've done is put an addendum to the document that'll be added. It'll show the value of those tasks. By that I mean truck time and man time and material time. So it'll be attached. So we won't have to have this discussion every time. What's the solar easement worth? What's this worth? It'll be part of the document. So right now, council's putting all that together. But we ended the meeting well, and we're off on a new venture with them. It was good. Let's see, as far as other updates, Panda updates, we still have Panda Man in the back. We understand our cameraman is retiring in 1 more month. We'll wish him well. He's going back to school.
He's actually teaching,
Pardon me?
going into teaching.
Yeah, getting your credentials, you mean, right? Yep. Yeah. Good, congratulations. So he was just getting used to shooting us, and we'll have to get somebody else. But I did sit and meet with the new president of Panda. We had a one-on-one meeting, and that's Eric Ryback, and I think they understand pretty well what we're thinking of doing and what we see Panda should be doing. And right now they're looking at some options to actually locate in the village of Reddick and work more closely with the school system. And I think it'll bring a little injection of proximity to us and the schools. Could be a good thing. What we're trying to foster is maybe we can lobby here. The school owns the building where PCA, I'll call it a software company, but they're an internet computer consulting type company. There might be some room in that building, and I think it would make easy access to students from the high school, the regular camera people. It's a little more in a main thoroughfare where it might just generate a little more energy and excitement to Panda. We still believe the TV medium is huge, but so is the internet, and we're trying to push them to move a little bit. And we did send them that. I did a draft memo of agreement where we will work with them for the next 6 months. In the meantime, we'll keep looking at our options, and they'll keep looking at what they can do to reduce their costs and work with us and get a more digital project for all of us. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. One thing, somewhere in my paper, we have on the agenda, Red Hook Public Library, new trustee. Like some of us may know, we do not own or control the library. It's not within our budget or anything, but for some reason with New York State educational law, the Village Board of Trustees, where library is located, has the authority and the power to appoint their board members. So they have the need for a new board member. And I don't know if you have that in front of you guys. It's, I'll read it out. Dear Mayor Blundell and Board of Trustees, last year the library requested and had approved by the New York State Board of Regents a new charter that allowed for an expansion of our Board of Trustees from 5 to 7 seats. After conducting a search for a new trustee for the Board of Reddick Public Library, we are recommending Beth Goldberg to be appointed. Upon your approval, Beth will serve a 5-year term. Beth has expressed a keen interest in serving the community via the Reddick Public Library. She has a master's degree in business and worked in financial services for nearly 20 years. She has previously sat on other boards, the Co-op Board when she lived in Manhattan, the Northern Dutchess Aquatic Club Board, and the Red Hook Faculty Association Welfare Trust Board. In these roles, she has learned the importance of building consensus to help achieve an organization's strategic agenda, while also working as a team and individual contributor on committee work and projects. For the past 10 years, Beth has worked at the Linden Avenue Middle School as a math teacher. We believe that Beth brings a wealth of experience, enthusiasm, and a commitment to the library and the community. We highly recommend Beth Goldberg for a seat on the Red Hook Public Library Board of Trustees. Thank you for support. So right now, they have that in front of us, so I don't personally know Beth, but it's, I'm fine with it. It's up to them to pick an interview, and they've done all that with their board. The new board of directors, it's an energetic group. That library is doing a lot of good work. So I would entertain a motion that we honor the request from the Red Hook Public Library Board to add and have them have a new member there, Beth Goldberg. Let's see. She is a town of Red Hook resident, I know that, which I would say is important, but I'd ask that be filed as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. LED streetlight program. Give a little introduction. I don't expect to vote on this tonight, but I wanted to talk about it with the board and the public. As we all know, we have roughly 252 streetlights out there, and we spend about $55,000 a year on the rent and the energy costs to keep them going. Pardon me? 55,000 a year. And we've been slowly, with the Central Hudson program, inserting LED bulbs where sodium vapor, high-pressure sodium burns out, which is a good step, but it may not be the ultimate step. And what that means is when we change the bulb or the head to LED, it's still a Central Hudson-owned head, Cobra head, and the arm that runs from the pole out, and we rent them both from Central Hudson, and then we pay the energy to Central Hudson to run the light. When you look at it, the energy costs are not that much in the scheme of the $55,000 budget. So I did a couple of conference calls and talking with the town of Red Hook and a few things. In Tivoli too, there's a program NYSERDA is sponsored. It's pretty active across the river in Ulster County. It's essentially promoting the municipal buyout of the Central Hudson equipment and then going forward with municipal ownership. And what I did, it's a really complicated spreadsheet. I think I forwarded it to the board. In particular, I know Charlie's interested in sustainability and things. I shouted to you. Again, we're not going to answer this tonight, but I gave them our current Central Hudson bills, and then they take it and plug it into the spreadsheet. And I spoke to the woman late last week, and she admitted she did not have the acumen to design a spreadsheet either. It comes from NYSERDA or somebody. Because if you look at it, it's incredibly complicated. The simple part is over here where this is what we have in our inventory. And the way the program developed is in the recent past, the PSC in New York State enabled utilities to divulge themselves, to give their assets over to municipalities. But there's a whole formula, and it's not all that simple, and it's not free. What the PSC recognized is that the utilities have what's called a stranded value. It's essentially the depreciation terminology. It's when they put that arm up, it costs them X dollars, and when they put that light on the end, it costs them Y, and they put a value on that, and they say that they did some sort of averaging and blending where it's about $303 is what they say each one of those arms and Cobra heads is currently worth. So we have 252 of them times $303. So you have to buy them out And then what happens is then you could keep the arm, but you have to change out the Cobra head to LED. And but when you look at it, the way the village would have to do it is we would have to consider a ban or something. And the reason I say a ban, I'm spinning, and I've been looking at this. There's some projections, what are called a high-cost model, and then I'll spin down for a minute to a low-cost model. But essentially, we would, it looks like in the high-cost model, in 4 years, we would have paid off the exposure, and we would just be paying the energy costs, which are, like I said, minuscule in the scheme of the dollars. And then they do add, you have to pay them $7 a pole just to have your owned armature off the top of their pole. In the low-cost model, it happens in 3 years. So in my mind, it's really worth studying further, because right now we'll pay $55,000 a year, and the projected energy costs are usually like about a 3%. I think Central Hudson goes up per year. But even if you just leave it at 55,000, we would, on the spreadsheet, always have 55,000 going out horizontally. Whereas here, it would stop. If you, this red is the projected energy costs. So it's about $11,000 in energy costs. So from 55,000, we would be just spending 11,000 there. So it's, we'll want to study the spreadsheet maybe in workshop more, but it looks like there's really significant incentive to move off. So I did call our bonding group, Salisbury Bank. They're one option. Their interest right now is 1.875%. There are, I call them the lend-lease programs. There are some manufacturers that'll apparently lend for a while on this as you buy, pay off the loan. But I think we'd probably be better off doing it our own way, because the lend-lease program, the rate was like 2.89%. So it's about a point difference. But anyway, it's we just got this data, I think, like last Friday or something, and we circulated it out to all you guys digitally. It looks, from what I can see in our vouchers today, there's a Central Hudson bill that is similar to, I used the prior months as far as the count here. I think what might get edited out, we have a few we own ourselves. One area we own, some are the parking lot right here, and then over at Abrams Park. But they're not significant numbers to change the overall pattern here. But essentially, to me, it looks like if we move forward, we'd have to come up with some money in the bulk format, pay it off in 3 or 4 years, and then save $40,000 a year going forward. Looks like a pretty good deal.
And this is without any grants or incentives up
Right.
front?
Right, this would just be pure financial, and what you might be hinting at is, I sent something to Charlie. We've got 3 out of 4 steps to make Red Hook a clean energy community under our belt. We need a 4th one, and it's something I want to see if Charlie was interested in. The same conversation I had with this woman from the program, if we get the 4th step, we can apply for a different NYSERDA grant, which there's some $100,000 grants and some $50,000 grants, but quite frankly, it doesn't sound like there's that many of them out there. I think it's pretty harsh competition, but to qualify, we have to have the 4th piece of our clean energy community designation. And we'd started, but she gave me a tip on an EPA site. There's something called Portfolio Manager, where it looks like we just insert the energy consumption on our buildings, and you have to just promise to study it for a year. So it sounds like if you get it in, we get the 4th category, then we can take a shot at a grant. But in essence, the 3rd part of the equation is, so you have to buy out the stranded value of the Central Hudson fixture. Then you have to, this group, what they're trying to do, and they are doing, is they will find the best variation of LED lights. We can get to pick and choose which Kelvin degrees we want, and different
Right.
things. And then they will find the best pricing and buy in bulk. And then they'll also, the goal is to have them find an installation company, like through an RFP or something. And we've always been a little hesitant, because we don't want to be in a streetlight maintenance business, but in this case, through the same RFP process, we would seek some regional electrician who has a bucket truck. And I was already talking with Nick over here, just give him a heads up. He'd have to come in an RFP probably, but somebody certified to go up and hook up the head, and then if something burns out, somebody has to go up and change it. But they have this incredible shelf life or useful life. You know, granted, some car might hit one, different things can happen, a tree will take one down, but we'd still have to change some once in a while. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth pursuing. It's just, you know, we have the appetite to put something out there to get the cash up front. That's the only hard part. I explained to the other municipal people at the conference that we don't have that laying around in a fund balance to go jump out and, you know, grab it, but we might have some of it or none of it. You know, quite frankly, 1.875% interest is still pretty low if we could look at doing something. But I would ask that you study, you know, if you get a look at it, the next workshop is the 20th. We could kick it around more with the numbers, and after, like I said, it's all pretty raw, fresh data to us, but worth looking at. And then, Charlie, do you want to, could you look at that EPA site and see if you could?
Yeah, I will definitely check it out.
It's just a matter of grabbing our Central Hudson bills and somehow logging them in, you know.
Well, right, so it doesn't sound like it would be a heavy lift.
Yeah, it sounded like it's, like I said, when I first saw the spreadsheet, I'm kind of a spreadsheet person. I was like, holy mackerel. I don't know if you guys can see much back there, but it's, anyway, that's that. One thing that came in at about 5:30 p.m. today in discussion of grants and solar and energy, I got a call from Town Supervisor McKeon, like I said, about 5:30 or 6. We have filed with the County of Dutchess another acronym, the MIG, Municipal Innovation Grants, and one of them that we did as a group and through proper process was to further look at the solar farm option over at our well fields. And apparently, it's a $45,000 grant we looked for with the town, and we're hearing that we're in pretty good stead of getting it. And so the town, what we're looking at is, it'd be our acreage, our well field, and that particular spot has incredible access to some primary lines for Central Hudson. And the kicker for both communities is Central Hudson pushes the cost back for an engineering review to the municipalities, and that was the basis of our grant. It's projected to be about $45,000 to do that study. So we put that into the grant. And so it looks like things might be lining up, and the town talked to Central Hudson, and they have a real short deadline, like later this week. And so the town had their attorney craft this document, and it got shipped to me digitally probably 6 o'clock tonight. Quite frankly, I haven't read it, but it sounds like what they're asking for was, at least in a phone conversation, was it's not, again, it's not going to cost us anything, but they want something that, so the town is willing to put up the $45,000 and then get the grant, and we wouldn't have to put up any money. But can we just read it together? Like I said, I printed it and rolled over here, and but with the short timeline with the Central Hudson deadline, the town seemed pretty anxious about this. So it says, resolution authorizing agreement with Town of Red Hook regarding studies of community distributed generation. That's the acronym. The state, again, PSC passed something where you can develop energy on community level. It's called CDG. Whereas it is the best interest of the Village of Red Hook to enter into a municipal shared service agreement with the Town of Red Hook to carry out studies of the feasibility of constructing a 1.7 megawatt photovoltaic system on village-owned land within the village to provide for community distributed power generation, expected to be financed by a municipal innovation grant in the amount of $45,000. Looks like we can kill that K there at the end.
Isn't part of the village-owned land in the town? So it should be village-owned land within the village and town of Red Hook.
Well, there is a separate resolution that the town is going to work on.
Oh.
So I could, let me just
Okay. just so long as it's captured.
Yeah, let's see. Because they have a town resolution, I put it on the screens here, but let's see. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Board of Trustees, the Village of Red Hook as follows. The Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor, or in his absence, the deputy mayor, to execute a municipal shared services agreement for administration of a MIG as project co-applicant with the town of Red Hook and a maximum estimated project cost of $45,000 for the community distributed power generation feasibility study, with the town of Red Hook serving as lead for purposes of entering into consultant contracts to complete the studies to be funded by such grant. The officers, employees, and agents of the village are hereby authorized and directed for and in the name and on behalf of the village to do all acts and things as may be necessary or in the opinion of the officer, employee, or agent acting desirable and proper to effect the purposes of the foregoing resolution. The resolution shall take effect immediately. Paragraph 2 is Chris Shaw talk. Paragraph 1, I just want to look at so the board authorizes the mayor or deputy mayor as co-applicant.
But Charlie was right, there is
But
no
in
mention.
the whereas, both resolutions
Right.
talk about village-owned land within the village, and it needs to be village-owned land within the village and town of Red Hook.
The only whereas is identical, except for Village of Red Hook up at the top, but
I mean, that's just an error.
Well, I see what you're saying. Village-owned land within the village. Okay.
and town of Red Hook is.
So we just need to insert "and town of Red Hook."
Yeah. But the operative paragraph is one, we authorize the mayor or the deputy mayor in an estimated cost $45,000.
And we're fine with the town of Red Hook serving as lead for purposes of entering into consultant contracts. And
I am, it's been pretty much working that way. Do you know Denny Collet from the town? He is like
Right,
the solar.
He's the guy.
Ooh, he's committed hours and hours and hours and
Right.
hours. We've met with him a few times. What it is, the nature of the grant, it's a shared services innovation. Let me rephrase that. It used to be the county shared services grants, so they still like shared concept, but it's defined now as a municipal innovation grant is the title of the funding mechanism. And it is true, we applied for $45,000, and they're saying that town would serve as lead for purposes of entering into consultant contracts. I think I'd like to add something that there is something, let's see,
And have you seen the
Like-
agreement, Ed,
which one?
to execute a municipal shared services agreement?
That says to
Is there a
execute.
separate document that is the agreement for administration of the municipal innovation grants?
No, nothing's been developed. I think it's all hypothetical right now.
So there's no application per se at this point?
Well, no, we've applied for the grant. You remember that, right? Remember
Yeah.
they're saying, no, but there's no offered municipal shared service agreement right now. You know, this is looking to set it up. I think somewhere where it's expected, I'm just looking to protect with some contingency wording. Up in the whereas paragraph, it says expected to be financed by a municipal innovation grant. I think we should put something if the grant is not obtained, it's null and void. It's something we're not looking to lay out half of $45,000 right now. At least I don't think we are. I mean, we haven't budgeted anything for that, you know? So if we were to
So
put,
do you want to,
Contingent,
so long as
yeah, contingent on,
contingent upon funding being provided through a municipal.
yeah,
right.
because expected to be isn't strong enough to me, so.
Contingent, I think, yeah, if you have,
How about if we put on line 3, paragraph 3, the resolution shall take effect immediately, but is contingent upon awarding of the full 45,000 or something to that extent, I think. But is contingent,
Contingent on being financed by the Municipal Innovation Grant in the amount of 45,000.
yeah.
You can either do it in the whereas, or you want to do it under 3, right?
I can put on the end of 3, kind of makes some sense there. I think I'll put at full 45,000 too. Yeah, just in case they give 30 instead of 45 or something. So up in the first whereas, we added within the village and town of Red Hook in the grammatics there. Then on the end, we said, resolution shall take effect immediately, but is contingent to being financed by the MIG at full $45,000. Does that match up with what you're thinking? Yeah, I'll have to go in. He gave me this, so I can do that. So it'll be resolution number 21. We're just crafting it as we worked here, but thanks for bearing with us. Today is July 10. So I'd offer motion that the reworded resolution 21 be adopted by the board with the corrections we added. The primary one that is contingent that to being financed by the MIG at the full $45,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, like I said, that came in 5:30 tonight, so. Let's see. Well, I think we've hit. Maybe before we open up to the floor, I had a thought, I was circulating, it's on the Panda World, and it might generate some floor comments or board comments. When we're doing the update on Panda, we've been pushing them a little bit. Right now, 5 municipalities share in the cost of Panda. Our share is about just shy of $11,000 a year now. It was a little higher prior years. The overall cost is $75,000. Well, $73,000 is the new budget number for Panda. I was trying to come up with a formula where right now it's based on the number of cable customers that do business with Spectrum Cable Company. And in the village, in the 2 villages, and even if you go to Rhinebeck, the villages are more heavily wired, so almost really every building can get Spectrum cable. When you get out into the towns, they can't. And, at our last meeting, we heard input from a lot of people, and I'm still trying to figure out a way, how can we make the product more accessible to everybody, that you don't just have to be a Spectrum customer, which of course it is available through the computer and through, it could be on our website or YouTube and Panda's site. And therefore, would you not be able to, or shouldn't we be able to divide the customer base into the cost, the budget cost, and in this case, instead of just using Spectrum customers, use all the population in the towns and the villages. And it makes a formula where in most cases, the towns would pay a little more, and the villages would pay a little less, just based on the nature of the way cable is laid out in the world. So it hasn't flown too well, to be honest with you, with the 2 towns that I brought it up to, but it was something that I think is something worth, because if we want to get the message out, I think it should be out to everybody, not just a Spectrum customer. And in my mind, a person with a computer doesn't have to be a Spectrum customer anymore, but in a way, they're getting it for free, in a funny way. So we're looking at that option. But anyway, did you want to, we're in a section of our agenda where we could entertain public comment.
And on the LEDs,
Yeah.
like on Park Avenue, you've got a light on every pole.
Don, can we give you the mic? Do you want to send up, just hold it, you can hold it, you can sit there and hold it in front of you or something. You were talking loud, but probably not loud enough to. Well, George can, do you want to ask this question if he's,
Yeah, like on Park Avenue, you got a light on every pole.
yeah.
Could we do away with some of those lights and go every other pole?
It's a good point. And actually, I brought that up. Like right now, those 252 lights we have, it's like, do you need every one of them? You know, and then if you do change to LED, it's a different push pattern, you know, as far as,
Right, the lumens would be different too.
yeah, so, and they do have, that group I was mentioning, they do have a consultant type person that doesn't cost anything, that I think we would get them to walk around, because some of our streets, I joke, you could read the New York Times and some, you know.
Absolutely.
Fine print. And, but that's a good point, though, yeah, we would look at that, because no sense just replacing, maybe we could cut some. And then-
Eliminate.
Yeah, and then, so it would cut the cost of the whole project, too. Good point.
Ed, I'll talk about Panda again a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Ed, nobody watches it. Look how many, you got 2 people show up for your meetings. Percentage-wise, probably the same number of people watch it. I mean, it's a joke. The only way they can participate in a meeting is to actually be here. It's not a 20-mile trip. It's a 5-minute walk from anywhere in the village.
Right. And we're
Pandering
entertaining.
to these people, it's ridiculous. They don't care. Everybody will complain about everything, but they won't come down and say anything. So it's a waste of time and money.
George, I have to say that I don't think 2 weeks ever go by where somebody doesn't come up to me someplace and tell me that they see me on TV and they watch these meetings. I live in Rhinebeck, and a Rhinebeck resident came up and said that to me last week and said he prefers our meetings over Rhinebeck.
That I understand, but
He watches our meetings.
what good does it do us?
Well, it does, but I think it keeps people
I
informed.
mean, like you say, you can look at it on the computer. I don't have a computer. I have a Spectrum at the house, but I don't watch the meeting because I'm here.
Well, I'm the same way. It's hard enough to do the meeting, you're not going to watch it, you know, it's like.
The
but,
good thing about that is you can flip the channel when it gets boring, which it
Well,
does for the first 2 hours usually.
We have pushed them, I'm smiling, but, you know, the Nielsen ratings, I've never had a phone call from anybody in my whole life, do you watch this channel? But Panda apparently can't get that through any sources, because we've had that question a lot. And we do hear, every time we make close to a move, we get the crowd we had last month, you know, and it's a similar version, and we do get a lot of pressure. So we did make an interim agreement, and we do try to make our meetings interesting, I think, you know, so we don't sit here and
If you
boring
get
or-
it down to an hour or something like that, you might have a stand a chance. But nobody can even watch it on TV for that amount of time.
Yeah, that's,
You have no commercials or nothing to keep anybody interested.
what we would like to do is get some commercials, and can you get your old employer?
sellouts.
Brought to you by the DMV or something. And we have you guys in the back keeping us on our toes. But we do have, I think we were looking at options with streaming, and if Panda could get into this, we don't know yet, but where you could index a meeting, like, you know, George was speaking about Panda at 8:22, you know, it's, so people, instead of watching. the
Right
whole-
now, they don't even tell you who you're watching. I watched something the other day, I happened to catch it, someone in the Rhinebeck towns, town or village, about the charging, what they're going to change with the zoning laws, the fees they're going to charge. So I saw about, and that was actually very clear, I can hear them. I'm not sure what it was, because they don't identify it. You know, I couldn't tell you, I can tell you what the room looked like, and it was more like in the school, so I think that's the village, but I don't know where
Yeah.
their meetings are held. But
We have found that when we make noise, they do work with us, and they do bump up the product, so hopefully that happens again. But thank you for your comment. I had,
Ed, in August, the 2 meetings are in the same week. I don't know if you noticed
oh,
that.
yeah.
Again?
Did somebody look at August there, Charles?
Right. So, yeah, the 14th and the 17th.
Cancel 17th?
I'll be away for both of those.
Oh, no. Let's see. I'll be back for the 14th. I say we cancel the 17th. What do you think? It's summertime, vacation season. Hmm? Is there a motion to cancel the 17th?
Really? You want to cancel?
Grant.
Okay, all in favor?
I-
Aye.
What?
I had executive session for collective bargaining discussions. I'm okay to go in if you guys, or we could do it at a workshop. You worn out? Worn out? Are you here for the workshop? 20?
On the,
20th.
yeah, yeah.
I'm okay with waiting until the 20th and nothing, it's not monstrous, nothing big.
Okay.
So we could do that. And then, George, it's an hour and a half. So not quite an hour. But see, we do more work than most, so we have to talk about it more than most.
I was gonna say, maybe people don't come here because we do everything right.
Well. You're watching on Panda, call the clerk Wednesday afternoon, 758-1081. And I think with that, we have to pay some bills. Charles, since we're short, could you get through those tonight, or did you get through them?
I already did.
Good man, okay. What we're talking about is we audit the bills, and we need 3 people to sign to make it street legal. So I did it today, you did it already, and he got it, so we're good. She can cut checks. And then, so we still need a motion to pay bills after audit. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, anything from the board? We asked the outside guys, but anything on your minds? I think we hit everything. Do you want to do your regular?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
All in favor? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.